Good morning. So, why else are questions such a big deal? Well, questions decide our focus. Questions decide, the question that you ask yourself decides what it is that you're actually paying attention to. The same thing can happen, and if you ask, why does this happen to me? Then you're going to look at a certain thing, as opposed to if you ask, what can I learn from this? Then you're going to look at it completely differently. So, questions control focus. That's incredibly important because where focus goes, energy flows. We when we talk about setting goals, I love forever. I've used the example of the airplane flying from Chicago to Hawaii, how it knows where it's going, but it's got to constantly adjust itself. Well, it has the power of focus. It knows what it's focusing on. It knows exactly where it's headed. And that's why goal setting is so important, because if you continue to look at your goals, you're going to know what you're supposed to focus on, what you're not supposed to focus on, and direct yourself. But questions decide our focus when it comes to day. And, happiness, whether or not you're thinking positively about the way the world is going to go, or whether or not you're not, or whether or not you're happy with your relationship, a great deal of that is determined by what you're focusing on, and that's decided by the questions that you ask. So, let's think about it this way. If you go to a party, and while you're at that party, there's one couple that's not getting along. And they're not really arguing, but you can tell that they're kind of arguing, but they're not saying things out loud because they don't want to embarrass themselves in front of other people, but it's tense, and it's just not a good situation, and that's all that you pay attention to. When somebody asks you the next day, how was that party, you're going to say, well, there was angry people there, and it wasn't very good. Now, at the same time, there could be another couple at the party that were, super connected, that were super in love, super excited for each other. And they were holding hands and maybe even, touching and looking at each other. And if all you did was focus on that, then the next day when somebody asked you, well, how was the party? You're going to say, well, it was really, it was really intense. People were really connected. There was a lot going on. So at any given time, we can decide if something is positive or is negative simply by what we focus on. We've told the story again and again and again about the difference between Bruce Springsteen and Carly Simon having the exact same physical response. And one says, I know that I'm ready and I love performing. And the other one says, I'm having an anxiety attack. So why does questions and the power of focus mean so much in general? Because it decides what it is that you're paying attention to in a situation like that. When you go in, anytime that you're evaluating, you're asking yourself questions. So if you go into this party and you ask yourself, if you go in with a preconceived idea that you don't want to be there, and so you're like, this party isn't going to be any fun, well, then you're looking for what's wrong. If you go in and you go, oh my God, I've always heard that this person has the greatest parties, I can't wait to be here, then you're going to look around and look for what's right. And either way, you're going to find it. Whatever you're looking for is what you're going to be successful finding. So, give yourself an example. If you're in a room that you're familiar with, this might not work, but try it anyway and just see whether or not this does something for you. Close your eyes for a second. And think about everything in your room that is brown. And don't open your eyes, but just visualize the room and think about everything that's brown. Think around, think up, think down, think about drapery, think about trim, everything that's brown. Okay, now open your eyes and look around for everything that's red. So like if I'm looking, there's red right there. There's kind of some red back there. Look around just for red. Look for red. Look for red. Look all over the place and look for red. Now, my hallucination is that when you opened your eyes and looked around, you saw a lot more red than what you did when you had your eyes closed and all you were focusing on was the brown. Look around and see what's green and maybe what's blue. When you were visualizing, all you saw was brown because that's all that you were thinking about. And that's what we do in life sometimes, is we visualize only the brown. We visualize only the crap. And then that's all that we look at. That's all that we see. That's all that we think about. We don't take time to look at the green and look at the red and look at all the other stuff that's going on around. And we don't appreciate any of that. And what decides that is the questions that we ask. So that's why these questions are so important, is because they direct your focus. And where focus goes, energy flows. If you want to just focus on the brown in life, if you want to just focus on what's going wrong, that's always easy to find. But it's just as easy to figure out what's going right. And you can focus on that, and your life's going to feel completely differently. And remember, when you see things as going right, then you're going to take more action. That's going to produce more results. That's going to produce more positive outcomes, and then you're going to go from there. It's going to perpetuate from there. More action, more positive outcome, which then results in more action because you got more confidence. You have more ideas that things are going to go correctly, and then that more action equals more results, which equals more confidence, blah, blah, blah. It just perpetuates. If you do the opposite, then the opposite is going to happen and you go down the other spiral. So this is why these questions are such a big deal. So I would encourage you to continue, cat's meowing, continue to look at those morning questions. If you haven't written them down, do so. Write down 5. What am I excited about? What am I grateful for? Who do I love and who loves me? What's great in the world right now? Focus on those every day, and that's going to start the trend in terms of how you feel when you're approaching other stuff. Where focus goes, energy flows. And look for the positive in your life. Look for the positive in the world. Look for the positive in your kids. Look for the positive in your spouse. Start consciously deciding that you're going to look for what's right as opposed to what's wrong. Have a great Saturday, everybody. Thank you very much for watching and being up. We're all in this together. Let's take care of each other.